Stay tuned for Dolly Reads for You with host Dolly Howard and her sidekick Colleen Kelly. Next on Haggy Shack Radio. Time to sail away into Bookland.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I was late. I'm having trouble with my computer. So I'm in WSR on my Naughty Nook, but not on my PC. So if I have to type something, be patient, because I'm on Naughty Nook. This is another Tuesday. It is June 7, 2016. You're listening to Dolly Reads for You. And this is a listener-supported radio station, so on Haggy Shack and WSR pages, you'll find the donate button. If you can donate, please do. All donations go toward the running of the station. No producers or hosts or guests get any of the monies. That's all. We all volunteer our time and efforts. And then we have archives that are free for a week after the live show airs. So then after that, they're moved to the archive that is $5 a month, and you'll need to renew your subscription monthly on your own because you're not automatically done for the money. Then you'll get an email with a little note saying that it's coming up to be time to renew. Let me see. What else do I need to tell? Oh, if you have questions, please type them in all caps in the chat room, because if you don't, they don't get our attention. And you'll probably get your question or comment ignored. We do love questions and comments. Just remember, put them in all caps. Alrighty then. I think I have all the ads done and all that stuff I need to do first. And we finished up the shack last week. So we're going to start a new book, but I think I did not read the acknowledgments. So I'll read those from the shack first, and then we'll move right along. Acknowledgments. I brought a stone to 3 friends. It was a chunk of boulder that I had carved out of the caves of my experience. These 3, Wayne Jacobson, Brad Cummings, and Bobby Downs, with great and careful kindness, helped me chip away at that rock until we were able to see a wonder below its face. Wayne was the first to see this story and went out of his way to encourage me to have it published. His enthusiasm brought in the others to refine the story and to prepare it to share with a wider audience, both in print and we hope in film. He and Brad bore the lion's share of work in the 3 major rewrites that brought this story to its final form, adding their insights into the ways in which God works and keeping the story true to Mac's pain and his healing. These 2 brought energy, creativity, and skill to the writing, and the quality of work that you now hold in your hands is due in large measure to their gifts and sacrifice. Bobby brought his unique background in filmmaking to us, collaborative on this story to tighten its flow and heighten its drama. You can visit Wayne at www.lifestream.org. Brad at www.thegodjourney.com, and Bobby at www.christiancinema.com. I am especially fond of each of you 3, KMW. I'm reading the acknowledgement out of the shack, Colleen. Many have intersected this project and given time and heart to sand the surface or etch a design or voice an opinion, encouragement or objection, leaving a piece of their lives inside this story and how it has unfolded. These include Marissa Giglieri and Dave Aldridge as design collaborators, and Kate Lapin and especially Julie Williams, who assisted with production. A number of friends took time from their schedules to prod and poke and help me edit, especially in the early rewrites. These include Australia Sue, brilliant Jim Hawley in Taiwan, and especially my cousin Dale Bruniski in Canada. There is a host whose insight, perspective, companionship, and encouragement have mattered. Thanks to Larry Gillis in Hawaii, my buddy Dan Pollock in D.C., Mary Kay and Rick Larson, Michael and Renee Harris, Julie and Tom Rushton, and the Gunderson household in Boring, Oregon. That's a noun, not an adjective. Along with the folks at DCS, my great friend Dave Sargent in Portland, the individuals and families of the Northeast Portland community, and the Closner, Foster, Weston, Dunbar kinfolk in Estacada. I am full of gratitude for the Warren clan, numbering around 100 now, who helped Kim rescue me from the dark side, and my parents and Canadian family, the Youngs, Sparrows, Bruniskis, and others. I love you, Aunt Ruby. I know you've had a hard time of it lately. Also, I have no words to express my heart and love for Kim, my children, and our two incredible daughters-in-law, Courtney and Michelle, who are both bearing our first grandkids. Yippee! Creative stimulation includes a number of old dead guys like Jakes, Ilul, George McDonald, Tozer, Lewis, Gibran, the Inklings, and yada, yada, yada. But I am also grateful to writers and speakers like Ravi Zacharias, Malcolm Smith, Ann Lamlott, Wayne Jacobson, Marilyn Robinson, yada, yada, yada. A whole bunch of yadas. Thank you, Anne Rice, for loving this story and penetrating it with your musical gift. You gave us an incredible gift. Most of us have our own grief, broken dreams, and damaged hearts. Each of us are unique losses, our own shack, in parentheses. I pray you find the same grace there that I did, and that the abiding presence of Papa, Jesus, and Sarayu will fill up your inside emptiness with joy unspeakable and full of glory. And that, my dear friends, is the end of our shack. I wanted to read you his acknowledgments because I didn't realize how many people had been involved in writing the shack. I can certainly understand it because it was such a deep book. But I enjoyed it completely, and I hope you all did too. So today, let's say the card, okay, Colleen? Was I thinking of it? It's supposed to be.
No, I was, and we were just going to do the suit.
Oh, I found it. I know what suit I had, but you go ahead and think of it like 3 times so that we'll all get that message from you. We're just doing suit, folks. I have mine. Are you ready, Colleen?
Yes, I am ready.
Spade.
Nope.
Oh, damn. Diamond.
Nope.
Oh my gosh, I was way off. What is it?
Heart.
I was way off. Of course, I have a few things going on here at home.
Yeah, and I have to admit that my concentration is watered down.
Just because you've been busy and stuff?
Oh, yeah. It's like being off in a dozen different directions at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I'll think of it this time.
Okay.
And we'll stick with a suit.
Okay.
And I'm thinking of it right now, guys, and let us know if any of you all had it. Oh, thanks, Vanessa. She loved it, even the tears. You all were kind of stuck with my tears. Sorry about that, but you know how emotional I am. And I am already setting up the suit that we're going to think of for next week. I got it already. Did anybody say, let's see, did anybody get anything? Hi, Ray. Nope. Dottie had clubs.
Vanessa had spades.
I didn't see that. What'd you say it was?
Heart.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess we were thinking in the black, Colleen. You seem to be the only one thinking in the red.
I'm always in the red.
Okay, so we got the card thing behind us. Now I can tell you about this exciting book that I got. Because of how we have been progressing since we first started Dolly Reads for You. I mean, we have really taken great strides. We've gone through dealing with our inner self. We've gone through trying to clear, we read Chariots of the Gods, and that brought us up in that area. We just had a diverse and all-rounding thing in Dolly Reads for You. So now I am bringing to us How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain, the New Science of Transformation. And it was written by Dr. Andrew Newberg and Mark Robert Waldman. Let me do the acknowledgments.
Oh, I did want to say, Mad Jess did get hearts.
Oh, cool! Right on, Mad Jest. Woohoo! I'm reading this. I'm with Dolly. Got spades. Kitty Kubiak. I seem to be stuck on spades, Vanessa. Vanessa says, I was crying with you, maybe before you. I'm a bit of a sap when children or animals are involved. Yeah, me too, Vanessa, me too. Uh-oh. Matt just lost the sound. So did K-Girl. Are you with me, Colleen?
I am. I don't know why they lost sound.
I wonder, did anyone else? I can't ask them if they lost sound, Yeah, if y'all lost sound, please tell me. Oh my gosh. It takes them 2 minutes. Anyone else? Oh, you typed that.
Yeah.
I hope it's just a refresh thingy.
I hope so too, 'cause, well, shoot, the few minutes of lap should be over. The buffer.
Huh. I'm going to try to reboot on my computer the, refresh, WSR.
Right.
And see if it'll work. But today I was cleaning my computer out. I ran the scan things for the mail stuff and viruses, and I wonder if that wiped out my chat sections. Oops, hey, what have I got on Naughty Nook? All of a sudden it came up with something else. I'm telling you. Oh, Vanessa says just refresh, so they didn't lose sound. Came back quick. Okay. So it's not everybody. They need to refresh. Okay, so the book How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain, The New Science of Transformation. And who's the publisher, so I can tell you that. I saw it somewhere. It's just a little name. Oh, Hay House published it. And I don't know when. Is that important to y'all, when it was done? I'm looking as fast as my eyes will travel. Oh, come on. I'm sorry, I can't find the year. If somebody is really sweating over the year, let me know and I'll make sure I find it for you for next week. Here's the contents of it. I think if I do the contents, that'll give you a little overview of it. Part 1, it's divided into 3 parts. Part 1, the roots of enlightenment. The enlightenment of a troubled kid. Number 2 is what is enlightenment. Number 3, what enlightenment feels like. 4, enlightenment without God. 5, the spectrum of human awareness. Part 2 is the paths toward enlightenment. So chapter number 6 is channeling supernatural entities. 7, changing the consciousness of others. 8, opening the heart to unity. 9, believing in transformation. Part 3 is moving toward enlightenment. Chapter 10 is preparing for enlightenment. 11 is intensifying the experience. And 12, enlightenment for all. And then we go into the appendix and notes. So, see why I'm wanting to read this? Because we've been doing in Dolly, the Did show, we've been doing angels, and this will kind of tie in with Dolly Reads for You, the Durfee stuff, books. If you don't like it, you can tell me, but I think I'm going to read it anyway.
Can you give me the name of it again?
How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain. And then underneath the big title, it's got The New Science of Transformation. You want its authors?
Okay.
Did you get it? Did I go too fast?
Well, I got The Enlightenment.
How Enlightenment changes your brain. You got that?
Yes, and then The New Science of Transformation.
Right.
You realize I am not typing all that out on the title of the show.
You're not? What's the matter with you?
Because it'll take up like 4 lines.
Yes. Oh.
Okay, there are more than one author?
Yeah, 2.
Okay.
Dr. Andrew Newberg, Newberg. And are you typing this? I can't hear you.
No, I am doing it the old-fashioned way with pen and paper.
Oh my gosh. And Mark Robert Waldman, Waldman.
Okie dokie.
Cool. All right. Now, let's see. I want to check Naughty Nook and see if anybody said anything. Sounds fine there. Oh, that's good. She's telling people. Vanessa's telling them, just refresh and come back. Okay. I'm waiting for the How Enlightenment Makes You Lose. Vanessa's waiting for the How Enlightenment Makes You Lose Weight. Well, I can tell you how you can lose some weight. Watch what that hand puts in your mouth. I know that's what works for me anyway. Okay. I gotta explain to you why I'm so discombobulated. Sherry and Shannon and the boys, Jake and Logan and the doggy Chance, finally got to my house. I think they arrived last week. They arrived recently. They arrived like the weekend of the last big weekend we had, wasn't it Memorial Day? Well, they arrived that weekend, and so we have a house full of peoples. And Sherry and Shannon went today back to the other coast. They've been there once already, checked the place out and signed some paperwork, because Shannon has just retired from the Air Force after 20-some years. So he wants to get into NASA, and he has to live over in that area. And what they're going to do now is they got a house to rent in the retirement section at Patrick Air Force Base. So they had to go today and sign some more papers. And Shannon has an interim job interview today at a way station for the county. It's because he really wants to get in the NASA place, so we all got to be working with our angels and asking them to work with Shannon's angels so that it works out for him just right for the NASA position. And thanks, everybody. So the boys are stuck home with me and Chance, but they're playing their TV games. So we've had a lot of activity. Running to the store a lot to buy food because, 2 teenage boys eat a lot. And so do their parents and their grandparents and aunt. All right, now the book. Let's start with acknowledgments. Oh, and they won't be able to go into their house until the 17th, so I get to have my kids with me until at least the 17th. I'm all excited because I haven't seen them in years. I mean, literally, at least 10 years for Shannon and the boys, and so it's a good time. Acknowledgments for this book. Every book involves dozens of people to bring one's vision to fruition. And Mark and I would like to express our deepest appreciation to everyone who has worked with us over the past 2 decades. I especially want to thank the thousands of anonymous contributors who have shared their spiritual experiences with us through our surveys and brain scan studies. See, they even did brain scans. I would like to acknowledge my close colleagues that I have worked with over the years. In particular, Dr. Daniel Monti has become a great friend and colleague as the director of the Myrna Brind Center of Integrative Medicine at Thomas Jefferson University. He has been incredibly supportive of all my work. My 2 wonderful mentors, Dr. Abbas Alavi, and the late Eugene D'Aquili, D-A-Q-U-I-L-I, allowed me to explore this fascinating intersection of the brain and spirituality, always encouraging me to tread into uncharted waters. And Nancy Wintering has been a steadfast collaborator on all of these exciting projects. We extend our gratitude to Chris Manning, PhD at Loyola Marymount University, Los Angeles, for helping us to clarify our spectrum of human awareness. We also thank YUVAL Ron, a scholar of the Abrahamic mystical traditions and their music for his input and guidance regarding the complexities of Sufi, that's S-U-F-I, I hope I'm saying it right, practices and beliefs. Our deepest appreciation goes to our agent, Jim Levine, and to our beloved editor, Caroline Sutton, who has brilliantly guided us through our last 3 books. Also, our heartfelt thanks goes to Brittany Ross, our co-editor for this project, and to Brianna Flaherty, our wonderful copy editor. We send an especially big hug to Bo Rinaldi, who gave us the inspiration to frame this book around the topic of personal enlightenment. And of course, we could not do this work without the support of our wonderful families, particularly our wives, Stephanie and Susan. While enlightenment is always deeply personal, the experience becomes lacking if we cannot share it with those we love and work with every day. I want to read you what's on the back cover of the book. A scientist explains why we're hardwired to need spirituality. That was by the Daily Telegraph. In this original and groundbreaking book, Dr. Andrew Newberg and Mark Robert Waldman turn their attention to the pinnacle of the human experience, enlightenment. Through his brain scan studies on Brazilian psychic mediums, Sufi mystics, Buddhist meditators, Franciscan nuns, Pentecostals, and participants in secular spirituality rituals, Newberg has found the specific neurological mechanisms responsible for an enlightenment experience and how we can activate those circuits in our own brains. See, this is why I thought it was important to us right now. In his survey of more than 1,000 people who have experienced enlightenment, Newberg has also discovered that in the aftermath, they have had profound positive life changes. Enlightenment offers us the possibility to become permanently less stress-prone, to break bad habits, to improve our collaboration and creativity skills, and to lead happier, more satisfying lives. Relaying the story of his own transformational experience, as well as including the stories of others who try to describe an event that is truly indescribable, Newberg brings us a new paradigm for a deep and lasting change. Dr. Andrew Newberg is the Director of Research at the Myrna Brind Center of Integrative Medicine at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital and Medical College. He is the author of several books, including the best-selling Why God Won't Go Away. He has a website, but damn it, I can't type it in there. I'll give you their websites later.
If you want to put it in the chat here on Skype, I can copy paste it. Or you can't do that either.
Well, and I gotta change stuff around here, and I can do that, yeah.
Okay.
'Cause I'd like them to have this. And then, yeah, you can. There is that one. And here is that one. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. It did that little thingy it does. Okay, so Mark Robert Waldman is on the faculty at Loyola Marymount University College of Business, where he teaches the Neural Leadership program. He is a business and personal development coach and the author of 12 books, including Why We Believe What We Believe and Words Can Change Your Brain, co-authored with Newberg. Okay, so I typed both their sites if you want to look them up. Thanks, Colleen, for helping me with this. It's a real pain in the butt not having it. I did the acknowledgments, didn't I? Or was that? Yes, I did the acknowledgments. I moved my finger, that's why I lost my place. God forbid when I move my finger. Let's see, author's note. For over a decade, Mark and I have worked together exploring the nature of consciousness, spirituality, and the brain. For this book, since we have used much of my own research to describe enlightenment, we will generally be using I to refer to myself, Andrew, unless otherwise indicated. But since Mark and I work closely in building our models and hypotheses, I will often use we to reflect our collaborative efforts. In addition, research is never a solitary venture, so you'll often find references to our work, which also includes the members of my research staff and colleagues with whom I have worked for many years. We have attempted to make the information in this book as user-friendly as possible, but generalizations often leave out important subtleties and complexities. So for those who are interested in exploring these topics in more depth, we have provided extensive peer-reviewed references to substantiate the conclusions we have reached. So if y'all have any questions about where they get their info, just let me know. I will go back into their notes because they really do have extensive notes in here telling you where they got their information. So this isn't just off the top of their head making up fiction stuff for us. They have documentation to prove what they're saying, which I love. You know I love to know. Where'd you find that out? Who said that? Why'd they say that? I have proof in this book. Part 1. The Roots of Enlightenment. I awake like bursting ice in a water jar. That was said by Basho, 17th century Zen poet. It's so dark in here. We are on the end of a tropical storm. Yesterday we got blasted with the gusts from it. It didn't really hit us, but the gust did. Now today we still have leftover cloudy sky and it's dark in here. What I'm doing is talking as I'm turning on my desk lamp so I can see to read. Now of course I have to get my feet back on my desk. The towel on my legs so that the keyboard won't cut them up, because it has a sharp thing on it that cuts me. Okay. Chapter 1, The Enlightenment of a Troubled Kid. Have you ever had an experience that completely and wholly changed your life? An experience that changed the way you thought and the way you acted? An experience that entirely changed your views about your job, your relationships, and your life in general? Many people have. For some, it converted their religious or spiritual beliefs. For others, it may have convinced them that God doesn't exist. It's the type of experience that can totally change the direction of your life, leading you down new paths of discovery. Perhaps such an experience hasn't happened to you, but you know that you are looking for something that will profoundly change your life and provide you with a new sense of meaning and purpose. People have questions, really big questions, and they are seeking answers, really big answers. They'll spend a fortune on self-help books and courses that promise to transform them, only to be disappointed. Still, most of us continue to struggle to find it, but almost everyone has gotten a glimmer of those big life-changing experiences. Even the smallest moments of clarity harbor some of the same basic elements of the it we feel driven to find. The transformation we seek, is what most people refer to as enlightenment, with a big E. Eastern philosophy makes a big deal out of the big E, enlightenment. But in the West, philosophers talk about another form of enlightenment, a small E, mini experience that provides us with the new insights about ourselves and the world. Throughout this book, we will distinguish between the big E experiences by using the capital letter for enlightenment. And when we refer to the smaller moments, we will use the lowercase enlightenment. These smaller experiences, these little E enlightenments, are great to have and are very helpful for understanding the big E enlightenment. In fact, our research shows that the smaller experiences might even prime our brains to have those grand life-changing transformations. The big enlightenment experiences are the ones that ultimately relieve suffering and bring peace and happiness to people. And that is the type of experience that the human brain appears to crave. We want to show you what the big E enlightenment is all about, how it affects your life and how it affects your body and brain. And we are going to use 3 tools to help enlighten you about enlightenment, and then guide you through specific exercises that can help you find it for yourself. The first tool involves the stories of people who have had big E and little e experiences. These stories are mostly from our online survey, which collected personal descriptions of over 2,000 spiritual experiences. We'll share with you some of the remarkable discoveries we've gleaned from these amazing encounters with enlightenment and what we've learned about how one's beliefs can either promote or inhibit our ability to transform our lives and our brain. The second tool is a new model of human awareness, a spectrum that begins with instinctual awareness and ends with the experience of the big E enlightenment. As we progress along this spectrum, we are actually moving from a minimal amount of awareness about the world toward a complete awareness of the whole universe. This map combines ancient wisdom and modern science in a way that makes it easy to identify where you are on your path and quest for enlightenment, the big E enlightenment. The third tool we'll use is the series of brain scan studies we've conducted on people who engage in very powerful and unusual forms of spiritual practice involving healing, chanting, channeling, and radical forms of meditation that profoundly alter the normal functioning of the brain. We believe that these studies can offer insights into a faster way to experience the big E forms of enlightenment that are often described in ancient spiritual texts. Now here's a little titled section. My Journey into Uncertainty. I've been mapping the neural correlates of spiritual experiences for nearly 3 decades, and many people ask me about how I got involved in a field fraught with peril for any aspiring scientist. My career has had its challenges, but the rewards have been phenomenal, and my work continues to reflect my passion for understanding how we as human beings grapple with the reality as we try to make sense of our world. Well, hopefully he'll help us to make sense of our worlds. So let me share with you how my own journey began and one of the transformational experiences I've had that reshaped my way of thinking about everything. I will try to describe it the best I can, but to this day I struggle with explaining what I experienced. After all, any level of enlightenment is almost impossible to relate in words. So as you listen to my story, it's important to keep this in mind. Enlightenment, large or small, is an indescribable experience that alters the brain and our awareness of ourselves and the world in a way we find deeply meaningful. And think about your own life-changing experiences now and throughout the book to help you find the meaning in your own life. Growing up, I was a troubled kid, but not in the usual sense of the word. I actually had a wonderful childhood. I had a close relationship with my parents, and I got most of the things that I wanted and needed. I was a very happy boy. Except for one thing. I could never understand why so many people had different beliefs. Why were there so many religions, so many political systems, and so many different views on what was right and wrong? And why did everyone feel so strongly about their beliefs, to the point of inflicting violence on one another? Yeah, they do it in the name of Christianity. In short, I wanted to get to what was real so I could know the truth and not just believe. I would argue that this was my first conscious decision to seek enlightenment, to begin a path that would help illuminate the questions that were burning in my mind. This, by the way, is the dictionary definition of small e enlightenment. To shed light upon a topic of inquiry. That's the definition of small e enlightenment. Let me read that definition again. Definition for small e enlightenment. To shed light upon a topic of inquiry. Unfortunately, my questioning did not lead me to answers. Instead, it took me into deeper realms of confusion. This
existential.
Thank you so much. I couldn't get my tongue to say that for nothing.
I have problems with it too.
Well, the word that Colleen said, uncertainty, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Stayed with me throughout high school and into my college years. And when I tried to talk to my family and friends about these matters, they usually gave me quizzical looks. Some of my teachers even told me I was wasting my time thinking about such questions. But I couldn't let it go. Instead, it became my personal mission to unravel these mysteries of the mind. Don't you just love how teachers, when they don't know an answer, they tell you to forget about it or to shut up? That drives me nuts. Okay. I pored over the philosophies of great historical figures, paying particular attention to how they grapple with the nature of reality. I also read many of the world's sacred texts, the Bible, the Quran, Quran, the Bhagavad Gita.
Well, Bhagavad Gita, yes, Bhagavad. I've heard it said several different ways. I just know how I say it. Which
Thanks, Colleen.
Could be wrong.
Well, people say it different ways because it's unpronounceable.
Only to us.
Well, who else counts?
Oh.
If we can't say it, that's the thing.
Well, I don't count because I can't hardly even spell, so.
You count. Okay, the Bible, the Quran, and that thing that Colleen said. Anything I could find in the library. I read Aristotle, Aquinas, Hume, and Husserl, Husserl, and I talked to rabbis, priests, and the occasional Buddhist master. The Eastern philosophers gave me insights into the big E forms of transformation, and the Western philosophers highlighted the aha moments of insight that fueled their passion to understand the world rationally. Again, I would call those the little E moments, but historians called the apex of Western philosophy the Age of Enlightenment. In the end, none of these great exemplars of knowledge brought me peace of mind. So I turned my attention to science to see what it had to say about the fundamental laws of reality. Are you okay, Chance? Hold on. You want to go outside? Yeah, he wants outside. Thanks, Jake. Poor little Chance has allergies. And that little guy just sneezes and snots all over the place. And I get so grossed out. Oh my gosh. But he can't help it. He's such a good baby. He's a beagle. Okay, so I turned my attention to science to see what it had to say about the fundamental laws of reality. I looked into evolution, DNA, cosmology, and neuroscience. But even in these sacred halls of academia, I never seemed to find the answer to my query. To me, each of these wisdom schools was simply a different system of many beliefs. Beliefs that were created and processed by the human brain, a wonderful but faulty device. Even the most rigorous scientific studies seemed flawed or incomplete at best, with each new piece of research offering contradictory advice. Science is an excellent way to observe the world around us, but it never answered my fundamental question. What is the real reality, and why does everyone experience it in a different way? But I still thought that the more I studied the brain, the more I could unravel some of the bigger mysteries of life. Uh-oh, I might lose power.
What's going on?
We're flashing.
Put your clothes on, Ethel.
It's steadied. Holy cow, I thought, oh man, I wouldn't even be able to tell her we lost power. It's cause we're still with that tropical storm thing. So if I do disappear, it's cause I've lost power.
Okay. I'll have music ready just in case.
Okay. Let's see. But I still thought that the more I studied the brain, the more I could unravel some of the bigger mysteries of life. So entering medical school was a particularly exciting time, and I began to explore the brain and body in greater detail than I ever had before. No, he's okay. He can rule the neighborhood. Unless somebody's bothering him. Chances out there barking. I eventually decided to take an extra year while in medical school in order to study the brain in more detail, and I was introduced to the relatively new technologies related to brain imaging. Now I could begin to see what was going on in a living brain as a person performed different activities or reflected on different ideas and beliefs. For me, this was one of the most exciting experiences in my life. Perhaps now I could find a way to link my pursuit of the deep questions with how my brain was actually trying to answer them. And it's 3:00, so we'll take the top of the hour break. And I'll go out and check on Chance and see who he's having to tell he owns this neighborhood.
All righty. See you in a few.
Yeah, see on the other side.
And this is called Imagination.
Oh, cool.
Alrighty, and we are live.
Hello there.
Hello. Did you get Chance all straightened up?
Yeah, he's back in. It's pouring rain now. So we definitely might lose power. The wires here can't handle rain. Well, they say, oh, look, the sun is out. Let's turn the power off to everybody's house.
Oh, yeah.
So, we got rain this time. I saw Vanessa was asking about Chance. No, I don't know, Vanessa, if he's allergic to the girls or not. They've been kept in separate rooms. I keep the girls in the bedroom with all their stuff, their toys and their food and litter and stuff. Just yesterday, Amber started coming out through the cat door, and last night I think it was, Amber started walking right next to Chance, letting him know that this is her house, but yet she'll tolerate him. So they're just getting to the point where they're making friends. But poor Chance is allergic to everything. He came down here that way. And now we got the pollen flying all over the joint, the poor little guy. When Sherry and Shannon get settled, they're going to find another vet and try to determine if maybe something is caught in his nose, because sometimes he sounds like he just has this blocked nasal passage. So they'll have him checked out when they get settled into their house. Okay, here we come back to this book. Perhaps now I could find a way to link my pursuit of the deep questions with how my brain was actually trying to answer them. Then one day, as part of a summer internship, I volunteered to undergo an MRI, a little F, and then the MRI are all caps, scan, while performing various memory tasks. After about an hour in the scanner with my head strapped to the table inside the gigantic magnetic donut, my back was in agony, my arms felt numb, and I really had to go to the bathroom. I answered all of the memory questions as best I could, but I realized that the researchers were never going to know what was really happening in my mind. All they knew were my answers to the memory tasks. They thought I was simply remembering the different words being presented to me. They had no idea about all of the other things I was thinking and feeling. At that moment, I had what I'd call a small epiphany, a little E enlightenment. No one can ever know for certain what is going on in another person's mind and brain. This discovery is now supported by hundreds of studies, but it also relates to another great conundrum for all of cognitive neuroscience. I realized that we can never even fully know what is going on inside our own mind because there are just too many variables involved. In any given minute of our own cognitive awareness, we can have hundreds, maybe thousands of discrete thoughts, feelings, and sensations constantly flowing in and out of our consciousness. And our subconscious, I would think. This insight helped me realize even more how difficult my pursuit of truth and reality was going to be. I concluded once and for all that I had to stop relying on what others had to say about truth, and I also concluded that science was going to leave me somewhat short of my goal. After all, it was my brain that was interpreting whatever information science provided me. So instead of seeking wisdom through scientific studies, reading books, and talking to other people, I turned my pursuit inward. I reasoned, perhaps naively, that if the best scientists, philosophers, and theologians couldn't agree on these fundamental issues, Maybe the answer could be found within me. It seemed to me that if I am part of reality, I should be able to quiet down all of my rushing thoughts and try to identify those absolute truths. After all, that's what the quest for enlightenment, the Big E, is all about. According to those ancient Chinese teachers who had promised me that there was an answer to everything. By turning inward, I quickly realized the next problem. My mind seemed filled with so many feelings, thoughts, and beliefs. How was I to know which ones could anchor me in reality? As a neuroscientist, I ended up exploring this issue with my research collaborator, Mark Waldman, in our book, Born to Believe. We documented how the brain can build wildly inaccurate but useful maps about ourselves, the world, and the reality that exists outside our inner perceptions. We think we see the world correctly, but we aren't aware of how distorted these maps can be. As I reflected on the problem of how my own brain, my own mind, was trying to find truth, I found myself becoming more contemplative. I wasn't doing a formal practice like transcendental meditation or vipassana, just my own concoction of thinking about things in a different way, looking for that nugget of truth I could rely on. At first, I thought this would help me get closer to my goal of understanding reality, but I didn't seem to get any closer. Eventually, my agitations returned, and I began to question my previous insights. This, by the way, turns out to be a common experience for enlightenment seekers. We have these moments of insights, these aha experiences, and we think we've discovered a fundamental truth. We feel uplifted and incredibly blissful for a moment. And then our old reality, our familiar habitual mindset and beliefs returns. Those who meditate regularly often have a little E moments of enlightenment. But then the teacher comes by and says, "This too will pass." A gentle reminder that the student has yet to experience that big E moment where one's entire worldview permanently changes, providing a total new sense of meaning and answering those big questions. You know, this makes me wonder, y'all. You know how we recently have discovered that our angels want us to ask for their help and how we can call upon them, and they answer immediately most times. I wonder if that can be considered a big E enlightenment moment for us as individuals. Just a thought. I know it certainly has changed my life for the better. Okay. I wonder. Let's see. To have an insight only to realize that it isn't as helpful as you thought is one of the most stressful experiences one can have. And that is where I found myself. I started to doubt every thought and belief I had. I didn't feel I knew the truth about anything, and everything seemed more like an opinion and not a fact. I felt trapped in a realm of perpetual doubt, but I had no choice. I had to continue my contemplative search for some fundamental truth. It was a lonely process, occasionally interrupted when I came across someone else who had gone down a similar path, like René Descartes. I don't know how to say that name other than that. One of the most important Age of Enlightenment philosophers of the 17th century. I was drawn to his meditations on the first philosophy, in large part because it seemed to incorporate the two things I felt I was doing, meditating and philosophizing. I became more excited when I read his opening comment of the things which may be brought within the sphere of the doubtful. Ah, I thought, he's talking about me. He is struggling with the same doubt that I am. As I read on, I found some comfort in his famous conclusion. Oh, come on. And I took Latin in school. Rene Descartes. Thanks, Colleen. See, they have letters in there they don't say, and then I get all confused. Let's see, I found some comfort in his famous conclusion. Cogito ergo sum. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am, is what it means. But then I began to doubt that as well. How did he know that there was an I doing the thinking? I felt that there was still something I was missing. So here's another subsection. The infinite sea of doubt and bliss. I decided to try a new contemplative experiment. Since I believed that all my thoughts were nothing more than products of an imaginative brain, I attempted to exclude all of the products of my mind. Language, feelings, perceptions, self-reflections, anything that could be biased or distorted. My realm of doubt and the pile of concepts included in that doubt just grew and grew. I kept forcing myself to find something that was beyond doubt, but I couldn't. As my doubt escalated, I realized that my entire strategy had to be doubted. Again, this idea was met with great internal pain. How could I know if what I was doing was the right thing? I had to doubt my whole process of doubting. A weird notion, but one that I felt compelled to do. He doubts his doubting. I can understand that. That's what's so funny. At that moment, I heard a tiny inner voice whispering, "Stop trying." It reminded me of something my Hindu philosophy professor in college had said when he was discussing how seekers in the Hindu tradition had reached the level of Big E Enlightenment, the state in which we suddenly rise above our own individual ideas and about the world and arrive at a totally new understanding of ourself and the universe. I'm hearing a noise. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Oh, I know. Okay. My teacher said that finding enlightenment, the biggie, catching that ineffable glimmer of a transcendental truth, required a combination of striving and not striving. Instead of trying to find the answer, let the answer come to you. Now I want to point out that I was not consciously seeking enlightenment, big or small. I was simply trying to discover a basic truth. But I was failing, so I decided to trust that inner voice to see what answer might come to me. I just waited. But for what? I spent 2 years doing this, and it was probably the most psychologically painful period in my life. Well, that guy's got to have the patience of Job if he waited 2 years. But then it happened. I was doing one of my daily philosophical meditations when suddenly, instead of finding doubt in everything literally became the doubt with a big D. I found myself floating in what I can only describe as a sea of infinite doubt. And it was the most intense, compelling experience I had ever had. Although 25 years have passed since that remarkable day, I still find it hard to put that experience into words. The infinite sea was everywhere, and everything was wrapped up in it. The world, religion, science, philosophy, even my own self. All I had ever wanted to do was eradicate doubt, and I ended up finding out that the only certainty is doubt. All I could do was to surrender myself to it and fully accept and immerse myself in that infinite sea in which everything, me, my thoughts, other people, the universe, was unified and connected. This, as we will explain throughout the book, is one of the common elements found in the experiences people refer to as enlightenment. Feeling a sense of unity and surrender, coupled with a feeling of profound clarity that some deeper insight or truth or wisdom had been reached. In my case, the experience happened as the result of many years of personal contemplation. But as I would later learn by studying other people's descriptions and conducting numerous brain scan experiments on various spiritual practices, there are many paths that can produce similar experiences. A few years ago, I shared my personal experience with my co-author, Mark. When I got to the description of infinite doubt, he posed one of the most interesting questions I had ever been asked. Wasn't that experience terrifying? I would imagine it would be, Mark said. I paused for a second and realized that it was actually the most comfortable and blissful experience I had ever had. I understood Mark's confusion. After all, I myself hated the years I had spent questioning and doubting everything. And now that same doubt was everywhere I looked. But perhaps he could realize my bliss because he hadn't experienced it for himself. For me, it felt like the weight of the world had been permanently lifted from my shoulders. How strange to feel that. Where had all of my troubles and worries gone? Somehow the doubt was no longer something to be feared, but rather something to be embraced. That was the key. Instead of fighting the doubt, I became united with it, and that infinite sea had it all. It was incredibly intense, profoundly clear, entirely uplifting, deeply emotional, and extraordinarily pleasurable. In fact, it became the most important turning point in my life and philosophy. I felt transformed, and the changes that took place inside me 25 years ago are still alive today. For one, I became keenly aware that everybody's beliefs were tenuous, shaped by the creative imagination of the brain. Suddenly, all beliefs were equal, and none were better or worse, or more right or wrong than the others. They were all partial notions, just glimmers of a reality that may or may not exist beyond the limited perceptions of our mind. I have to cough, hold on. Sorry, I didn't think I should be coughing in your ear. All right, where was I? I felt a tremendous sense of humility at our inability to really know what is going on in the universe around us. I also felt an intense sense of awe, knowing that in spite of our incredibly imperfect brains, we all have an intuitive way of carving a meaningful path through this world. Since that moment, I have often returned to my transformational experience as a reminder that we are significantly blinded by our beliefs about the world. These limited beliefs are often the cause of our failings, fears, and sufferings, because we think we know something when we don't. It's probably one of the most difficult things to realize how trivial and petty these limited beliefs can be. My experience transformed my life in another way by opening the door to the line of research to which I've devoted the last 2 decades of my life, identifying the neurological pathways of spirituality and consciousness that can lead us toward those moments of insight and bliss. My goal in writing this book is to share with you the newest research demonstrating that the personal transformation that comes with enlightenment experiences is not just a possibility. It's a biological imperative that drives us from the moment we are born. We also want to offer you some shortcuts that may speed up your own quest for a small E or big E experience. Another little section entitled, Why Enlightenment? Oh, goody. The sky seems to be lightening up. Maybe that storm is moving along. Oh, yay. Okay, the new section, Why Enlightenment? So what can we call my own personal experience? It was powerful, and it changed my life. But I began to wonder if other people's life-transforming experiences were all the same or different from one another. In fact, here in the West, most people don't talk about enlightenment very much. We all seek happiness and success, friendship and intimacy. But as my career progressed, I felt that while people want to change their life in dramatic ways, there is a great fear about really shaking up their fundamental beliefs about the world. We enjoy the simple insights and aha moments, the little E experiences, but we rarely dare to rattle our habitual ways of thinking and behaving. We explore this in our book, Born to Believe, by showing how entrenched we are in our beliefs. It is hard to break out of them even when we really want to. I think we understand that pretty good because of what we all have been going through. The more questions we think we get answers for, the more questions we have about the answers. Seems like we're chasing our tail, but I think we're actually moving forward. Let's see. For some people, enlightenment is the most incredible, powerful, and life-transforming experience a person can ever have. At its most basic, it sheds new light and knowledge on how you think everything in the world is supposed to be. For some, this can be a deeply religious or spiritual experience. For others, it can be incredibly rational. And from our perspective, whatever the person feels, it is also felt deep within the workings of the human brain. While others have written about enlightenment from a purely spiritual or philosophical perspective, we are going to talk about it from both a neuroscientific perspective and a personal one. Drive defensively, K-Girl. See you later. Thanks for telling me you like the book. We are going to describe what happens in the brain as people work and move toward enlightenment. What happens at those peak moments of life-changing power, and how the brain is permanently changed as the result of these experiences. And we will reveal the powerful descriptions of the experiences of our survey participants and how the critical elements of enlightenment are reflected in different brain processes. We've used our brain scan studies to develop a series of exercises that will show you how to facilitate your own personal growth and transformation. I love that they have incorporated science with the brain scans of science so that they can prove to us, yes, when you have these enlightened experiences, it's a real thing. It changes your brain. And we can have proof of it. The literature shows that theoretically everyone is capable of experiencing enlightenment, but our research shows that for those who do have the big E and the little e insights, no two people will ever experience them exactly the same way. In other words, it's a highly personal event. That's why we've included many stories gathered from people who participated in a web-based survey I have been running since 2008. People not only wrote about their experiences, they also provided us with data about their personal history and belief systems. For those who do experience the Big E enlightenment, we discovered that they, like me, often struggled to find the right words to capture the event in a meaningful way. Here is a sampling of how conscious they were of this problem. I can only tell you the general parts of the experience because some details are impossible to describe. I was totally filled with an essence of love, but I can't find the right words to describe it. It felt like the air around us was made out of love. It is impossible for me to communicate with you because this communication is false, and I am false for trying to communicate it. I'm with each one of those three people. On and on our survey participants tried to describe the indescribable, and they always seemed to feel a bit of remorse when they failed to find the right words. But each of them knew what that experience was in their own mind and heart, and each of them came to see the world in a new way, one that guided them toward a newer and deeper sense of reality. Another new section titled Wired for the Big E. The Big E. The ability to experience enlightenment, big or small, appears to be wired into our brain and consciousness. If we can learn to access this function, I believe that everyone would find immense benefits, not just to oneself, but to society as well. Neurologically speaking, small enlightenment experiences appear to be associated with the most recently evolved structures in our brain, structures that help us find meaning and purpose in our lives. These same neurological circuits help us to regulate our emotions and to generate empathy and compassion toward others. In other words, neurological enlightenment, and in particular, our ability to observe ourselves as being separate from our daily thoughts and feelings, improves our inner state of well-being and our ability to cooperate with others without conflict. Small enlightenment experiences appear to be essential for improving our relationships with family, friends, and colleagues, and we believe that the conscious search for the Big E experience increases our ability to alleviate not only our own suffering, but the suffering of others in the world. There is growing scientific evidence that brief moments of enlightenment occur in most of us, and that the more we can consciously seek out these aha moments that allow us to see greater truths about ourselves and others, the more likely we are to have a life-changing Big E experience. Our research, along with the work of some of our colleagues, has identified many qualities of the small e experience. For example, it can instantly illuminate a difficult problem. It immediately interrupts worries, fears, and doubts. You'll often feel deeper kindness, compassion, and empathy. You'll become more open-minded and tolerant of others. You'll feel a deep sense of peace. And boy, aren't we all looking for that. These are qualities often described by our survey participants, and they are also qualities that many people discover through meditation and prayer. But the experiences are often transient, whereas the Big E enlightenment brings an instantaneous and permanent change to one's personality or worldview. They actually go from the experience of the Big E enlightenment to the state of the Big E enlightenment. We will discuss the state of the Big E enlightenment later in the book, but it is important to realize that the state of the Big E enlightenment represents all of the transforming changes brought about by the experience. The Big E enlightened person has a new sense of meaning and purpose in his life, feels differently about his job and relationships, and no longer fears failure or even death. And we have documented such changes in our survey. But here's the problem. We do not have scientific proof that the Big E experiences represent reality. We have thousands of years of anecdotal stories, but first-hand descriptions are often dismissed in science because we don't know if the person made it up. Has anyone ever captured or measured a Big E event? We're not sure, but we believe that our most recent brain scan studies have uncovered a very unusual neurological change that occurs when people say they are experiencing something that resembles the Big E enlightenment. We also see long-term structural changes in the brain in people who are consciously seeking Big E enlightenment. For these reasons, the evidence suggests that the path toward the Big E enlightenment is not only real, but that we are biologically predisposed to seek it. Whether or not we achieve it is another matter. Science can neither prove nor disprove God's existence or non-existence, and the same is true for the Big E enlightenment. If the idea and the experience of the Big E enlightenment feel meaningful and valuable, then by all means pursue it. See, even though they have the proof on the brain scan, the scientists don't believe. That's sad. Our brain scan studies also show that there are specific techniques that anyone can use to help speed up the enlightenment process by priming the brain for such experiences. For example, you can learn how to alter your everyday consciousness that keeps you pinned to your old beliefs. There are also imagination exercises that you can use to deliberately enter a unique state of consciousness that taps into the creative centers of the brain. You can practice specific sound and movement rituals that will alter your perception of the world. You can also train your brain to form new neural connections that will allow you to feel better about yourself and more tolerant of others. These enlightenment, the little E enlightenment experiences, be they large or small, I misstated, may even help a person to overcome deep-rooted personality problems and addictions. Simply put, if you seek enlightenment, you will discover a different you, one who makes life more meaningful and rich. So you have to seek it, you have to want it in order for it to work. In part 1 of this book, we'll reveal the biological psychological, and cultural roots of the human quest for the Big E Enlightenment, describing many personal examples. Some, like Tolstoy's experience, are famous, but the most important examples described in this book come from the 2,000 people who voluntarily participated in our online spirituality survey. Some of these individuals experienced the Big E Enlightenment spontaneously, while others found it through deep reflection and contemplation. Many were religious, but many were not, and we'll show you the commonalities of these experiences that led us to our formula for helping elicit Big E and Small E events within the brain. And we'll introduce you to our spectrum of human awareness to show how the brain can move through different small E states on its way to Big E Enlightenment. We'll also look at the insights gleaned by those who sought in Big E Enlightenment through drugs, and even by those who found their Big E Enlightenment just doing everyday things. These personal stories, combined with our latest brain imaging studies, will give you, the reader, a roadmap to create your own path of transformation. And by transformation, we mean a change so significant that you experience yourself as a different person, free from the inner suffering that so often fills one's life. That's true. That did happen with me. Okay, sorry, that just made a connection with me. In part 2, we'll show you what happens in the brain during a variety of powerful spiritual practices that people have used to induce different states of consciousness as part of their own journey to find enlightenment. These different states move you along a broad spectrum of awareness and can yield some of the small E enlightenment experiences, as well as help prime your brain for the Big E enlightenment experiences. In part 3, we'll guide you through a series of concentration and meditation exercises with the goal of helping to prime your brain for enlightenment, the Big E enlightenment. First, we'll teach you some of the most effective ways to relax and observe the wanderings of your busy brain, steps that will prepare your brain to enter creative realms where enlightenment experiences begin to form. Then we'll introduce you to a series of intense practices designed to radically change your brain's activity. Your inner and outer reality will abruptly change, and when this happens, it becomes possible, or so we believe, to experience profound changes in your entire worldview. I need to get a drink. Hold on. Okay, here's a new little section. Peering into my enlightened brain. Many years after my initial experience with infinite doubt, when I was fully engaged in doing brain scan research on spiritual practices, psychological health, and neurological disorders, I began to experiment with the powerful technology of functional magnetic resonance imaging, or otherwise called little f, capital MRI. These machines have been the heart and soul of modern brain research and can track moment-to-moment changes in brain activity that occur when a person performs any specific task. I wondered if my personal experience of infinite doubt, which I can easily trigger by going into a contemplative state, would show up as a specific pattern of brain activity. So I went into the fMRI scanner, and with the magnetic coils surrounding my head and all the banging noises it makes, I proceeded to contemplate infinite doubt. I did not tell my assistants exactly what I would be doing other than that it was my own brand of meditation. The imaging results were quite amazing. And he's showing the picture of the results of how his brain actually did change throughout this. I wish I could show you all the picture, but I can't. You just have to believe me that it changed. The imaging results were quite amazing, see figure 1, and suggested to me that there are specific areas of the brain that can be associated with the biggie enlightenment experiences. My scans showed decreased activity in the parietal, P-A-R-I-E-T-A-L lobe, dotted arrow. Oh yeah, he's showing me the dotted arrow. Oh, it's that brain in the back of your brain. It's that place in the back of your brain, which is the very back on the left side. My scan showed decreased activity in the parietal lobe in the back of the brain, which is consistent with what we see in other people when they feel an intense sense of unity. This has always made sense to me since the usual function of the, I'm so sorry I'm butchering these words, parietal lobe is to take all of the sensory information coming into the brain and help us create our sense of self and establish how that self is related to the rest of the world. What I refer to as the self-other dichotomy. So a decrease of activity in this area would be associated with a loss of the sense of self and a blurring of the lines between myself and the rest of the world. I would feel deeply connected to the entire world since there are no longer any clear boundaries between it and myself. Surprisingly, my scans also showed decreased frontal lobe activity. Usually we see increased frontal lobe activity when people purposefully concentrate on a sacred object, an image, or a specific prayer. I wondered if this unusual decrease might be essential when it comes to mystical or the biggie enlightenment experiences. As each of the studies in this book exemplifies, it turns out that my hunch may be correct. The biggie enlightenment appears to involve a rapid and radical decrease in frontal lobe activity, something that a person can consciously manipulate with his thoughts, intentions, and the use of movement, sound, and breathing. Enlightenment is real, is this next section. Based on our scientific evidence, I now believe that the stories found in sacred texts describing the biggie enlightenment are real in that they are related to specific neurological events that can permanently change the structure and functioning of the brain. People may or may not actually be connecting to God or to the supernatural, but ultimately, there is something very powerful going on inside the brain. Enlightenment appears to involve a sudden shift of consciousness that temporarily interrupts the way the brain normally responds to the world. These experiences can spontaneously occur, or they can suddenly erupt after years of contemplative practice. They can also be triggered by a dramatic or traumatic event, but there appears to be an underlying common thread. The biggie enlightenment can be induced by radically altering the blood flow in different parts of the brain. When this happens, you'll see the world in a new way, often with an incredible sense of awe. But remember, this sudden perceptual shift is a highly subjective experience, one that is difficult to describe in words. From the survey results I've gathered from the people I've scanned, and from my own personal encounters with this mysterious realm of consciousness, I have come to realize how powerful and positive these experiences are. No wonder people from every time and culture have sought these experiences out. I hope from the stories and research we are about to present that you will be encouraged to seek and find your own path toward the Big E Enlightenment. Hold on just a minute. I want to take a look forward. Hold on. Okay, I wondered, because we're ready to start chapter 2, I wondered if we'd have a good breaking point in a few minutes, in like 10 minutes. Yep, we do. What's going on? Have there been any comments or questions? Let me take a look here. Okay, nope. Chapter 2. What is enlightenment? And then there's a whole bunch of words here. Knowledge. I don't know how to say. Gnosis. Gnosis. Wisdom, science, reason, oneness, unity, ecstasy, awakening, bliss, purity, liberation, insight, truth, transcendence, transformation, self-realization, illumination, clarity, inner peace, holiness, revelation, God, emptiness, selflessness, pure consciousness. That's different words he put down for the Big E Enlightenment. Throughout history, different scholars have used every one of these terms to define and capture the essence of the Big E Enlightenment. But since the experience is profoundly individual and often difficult to describe in words, it leads many people to different conclusions. For example, the great philosopher Plato offered an elegant metaphor for both the Big E and Small E Enlightenment in his allegory of the cave, in which a group of people have been imprisoned since childhood. They are chained in such a way that they can only see the wall, and behind them a fire burns, casting shadows of themselves on the walls of the cave. The prisoners are fascinated by these shadows and wonder what they are about. As time passes, they build all kinds of belief about the shadows, and they assume those beliefs are true. One day, one of the prisoners breaks free, and he turns around to see the fire and the other people who are casting the shadows. Initially, he is shocked and surprised, then intrigued, realizing that things are very different from what he believed. This represents the little E Enlightenment, the initial aha experience that begins to change his worldview. He turns around to look at the cave wall again, but he is not able to go back to his old way of thinking. He is caught between two worlds, having glimpsed a partial truth about reality. Then Plato expands the story with great trepidation. The man decides to step out of the darkness of the cave. As his eyes adjust to the sun, he sees the profound beauty of the real world. The colors, the shapes of the trees, and the village that lies in the distance. He now understands the difference between the small light of the campfire, the little E, and the profound light of the universe, the Big E experience of enlightenment. He realizes that he is witnessing a greater truth about the world. The metaphor is clear. We spend most of our lives experiencing only the shadows of reality. But if we can free ourselves from the assumptions and beliefs we hold in our mind, our cave of ignorance, we can become enlightened. First in small ways and hopefully in a life-transforming way. This, according to Plato, is wisdom, the highest form of awareness and self-realization we can reach. Others have encountered similar experiences throughout history. Archimedes, the scientific Greek mathematician, exclaimed, "Eureka! I have found it," when he discovered a profound scientific principle. I would consider this a small e experience. It provided great insight, but did not fundamentally change his life. For Buddha, his search for a way to end the suffering of others was a long and arduous path. When he finally reached a point of complete inner clarity, his big E experience, he gave up all selfish desire, declaring, "I am awake." Need a drink again. Oh, hey. It's 3:55. Just in time because I think I'm losing my voice again. It's hard for me sometimes breathing and talking. So next week, we will start with this little section in Chapter 2 entitled Defining Enlightenment, Large and Small. And with this book came the cutest little bookmark. I just love it. It's really, I can't even explain it. I just love it. It's this book came from the Book Depository. Free delivery worldwide. Oh, I see. They want me to color. Coloring Bookmarks. Detail from the Menagerie by Richard Merritt and Claire Scully. So they got a picture of a bear here, and then under it they have this just designs, and they want me to color it and share it. Isn't that exciting? See, it doesn't take much to excite me. Look on the back, there's a big coloring calligraphy thing for me to color. I think I'm liking this book. What's your thoughts, Colleen?
I'm liking it a lot. I'm laughing.
What are you laughing at?
Your excitement.
Oh. I'm sorry. See, it doesn't take me much to get excited.
Well, little surprises like that are very, very nice, and I love bookmarks. And you get to color it. Do you have crayons?
No, I'm going to have to get some unless Annette's got some. I think she might have bought some recently. I have to ask her when she gets home.
Or some colored pencils or markers or something.
Yeah.
When your Nook won't work, you just sit there and say, "Damn it, color it."
Yeah. Well, today it's my damn PC that won't work right.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, when we get done, I'm gonna turn it off and let it rest a little bit, and then I'll go at it again and see what happens.
I would turn mine off, but I'm afraid they'd never come back up.
Oh man, Colleen, that'd be awful.
I know. Well, you know, they run like 24/7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you run maintenance on them then? Like cleaning them up or doing a antivirus scan or?
Oh, I do the scans and I back them up once a week or once every 2 weeks at the most. I backed them up last Thursday. They don't take long, but I do need to shut them all down and get the vacuum and the paintbrush and sweep them out and stuff. But
I find I have to do that because of the cats.
Oh yeah, we got the cats and we got the dogs and we got the dust. Because I haven't been able to clean my room in a while, so.
Oh, wow. So what's up for the rest of today?
Okay, after this show, I'm going to do a replay of Groovy Bean's show with Jim. She and Jim Nichols interviewed Isaac Weishaupt. I can't pronounce it as well as Yvonne does.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that is a replay of Up Crosser's Creek with Emily Norcross.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was a good one.
Oh, yes. And then after that is Cosmic Reality Radio Show. And I think Renata Jet is going to be on that show as well. And she, I think, has a friend coming on.
Now, is she going to be with Nancy, or is she doing her own thing?
Oh, well, of course, Cosmic Reality is Nancy and Walt.
Yeah.
So, Renate and a friend of Renate's named Neil Akash, A-K-A-S-H, will be on. Gosh, wait a minute, am I confused? Probably.
Heck, I don't know.
That may be what, World Talking with Friends. I'm confused.
But anyway, Nancy and Walt will have a live show tonight?
No, tonight. Yes. Tuesday is always the live Cosmic Reality Radio Show.
I get confused.
I see, I do too, and I have a calendar right in front of me. And after that is Jackie Olmsted's new show, Earth Mama Living. And she and Yvonne will be doing that. And then,
I caught that last week. That is really interesting, and I thought it wouldn't be.
Yeah, she's got a lot of information, a lot of know-how.
Because, see, I don't like nutritious talk.
Oh, I know, and I do, especially when they're talking herbals and oils and all that kind of thing.
But, boy, I tell you, last week I was all ears.
Oh, yeah. Well, they'll be on again this evening. And then, of course, after that is a replay of Say What from last week.
Oh, cool. All right. There you go, folks. That's the lineup for today. And I'm going to give my computer a rest. So, see y'all next week. We'll be continuing with the book, How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain, the New Science of Transformation. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Dolly.
Thank you all. I love you all. Love you, Colleen.
I love you.
Bye-bye.
See y'all later. You just heard Dolly Reads for You with Dolly Howard. Produced by Colleen Kelly on Haggy Shack Radio at haggyshack.com. Simulcast to Wolf Spirit Radio.